welcome to Pixel Scandal NerdCast, where we talk about all nerd things. Please check us out at pixelscandal.com. That's PIXELSCANDAL.com. I am Matthew. I'm a home health aide by trade, full-time gamer in my spare time. Also with us in the Pixel Scandal cast is Katie, Kurt.
Hey guys.
Gordon.
Yo.
Tyler.
Hello.
And Mike.
He's just going in a random order.
Yeah, he is. He's not following the thing there, but that's all right.
He's just going by the people he likes the most to the people he likes the best.
That makes sense.
Why wasn't I at the bottom?
You can't even do that right.
So look at that, guys. We have the episode 1. Episode 1 of Pixel Scandal Nerdcast.
Episode 0.
Should this be episode 0?
It should be episode 0.
Okay,
This is the duct tape and nails.
We're gonna save it as episode 0.
I think 0 might be ambitious. Let's go -1.
We'll just have like 0.1, 0.2 until we're ready for launch.
Oh, just minor
This
versions.
is definitely alpha.
Just minor versions.
Don't worry, we're early access podcast.
Yeah, thank you all for your sub.
And in 4 to 6 years, you will definitely see open beta.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. Fortunately, you haven't given us any money, so it's okay.
Right. You're not missing out.
We'll probably release before Pantheon. That's low, man.
Well, does somebody want
Definitely
to...
before Star Citizen.
Right?
So Tyler, do we have any announcements?
Well, first, do you want to say a little bit about what Pixel Scandal is? For anyone who's going to listen to this in the...
Sure. Pixel Scandal is essentially a gaming group that we created. There are facets to it that we're working on. We have Pixel Scandal, our gaming group.
Don't give it away.
Which we're streaming 1 to 2 times a week. Random games. We've done 2 streams so far of Human Fall Flat.
The best game.
It is the best game. And we're working on other streams in the future. We also have Paper Scandal, which is our tabletop RPG phase of Pixel Scandal. We have our first one coming up, which we'll talk about in a bit. We have our
I think we just lost... Oh, no, we're good.
We're back. We have our first Paper Scandal event coming up where we're going to be playing Dungeon World.
Dungeon World. We're going to play a game of Dungeon World. I'm super excited about it.
Talk more in depth.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a bunch later.
And this is our first podcast, which is going to talk about both of those things and also just general things, general gaming things, maybe some non-gaming things, just things, lots of things.
Yeah. Gaming stuff, pretty much.
Yeah.
If anybody does see this with our little chintzy setup here, in the future we probably won't do this as a live episode. Everyone will be streaming live from their remote locations. But if it turns out people like it better like this, maybe we can all get together and do live episodes.
We'd even still do some.
Yeah. We'll have to fly Handor out.
Yeah,
so we can come sit at our table.
Once we get the private jet, I'll be out every
he likes that
awesome.
He likes to drive that.
Yeah.
Camaro. Michigan to California, it's not that far. Halfway across the country.
Yeah.
So speaking of, you mentioned the Dungeon World game. That's going to be on April 28th at 9 a.m. That's a Saturday. So definitely follow the channel if you're watching it on Twitch. And if you're finding this later on some other platform, go to Pixel Scandal or twitch.tv/Pixel Scandal.
If you are a tabletop person, especially if you're not a tabletop person, this will be a really good opportunity for you to kind of figure out how that works and system and character creation and just what tabletop is.
Yep.
It's not just something a bunch of nerds do in their basements anymore. It's actually quite a huge
We've
community.
moved up to the first floor, as you can see. So
Yeah. We're on the...
But it'll be a really good way for you to kind of see what that's about. And I think a lot of us are not familiar with this, so we'll be starting pretty fresh ourselves. We'll be learning it too. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a good chance for people to get in.
Yeah.
Matt is one of the people. I don't think Matt has ever played any tabletop game, so he'll be a complete newbie.
Yeah.
Which is good.
So yeah, you guys, everyone will be able to see that entire learning experience from 0 to.
Which one's the D20?
Well, good thing you don't need one in Dungeon World.
Okay, that shows what I know about it, so I'll be learning it too.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll figure it out together. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So do we have anything to talk about that we're excited about, guys? Anything coming out?
Not you. We've established.
Yeah.
Excited?
I'm always excited about everything. So
What's
I'd
coming
say I'm a
out that
little
we're
excited
about?
that Pixel Scandals now has 3 facets. I would say really delving into as a group of years and years of friendship, playing many games. And being able to bring that into something that's recorded and maybe giving other people the opportunity to experience that as well, because I know I certainly enjoy podcasts and videos like that myself.
I think that's a good point. I think people should know that this particular group of people have been we've been playing board games, tabletop games, video games for how many years now?
I met Mike about 9 years ago, but you guys knew each other a little longer than that.
Us has been at least 10, if
Probably
11 or 12 by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Matt, we've known since
How did
Lich
you?
King.
Lich King expansion
Was
in World
it?
of Warcraft, whenever
Oh,
the hell that was.
Nax 25.
That was 2008. That was 2008, December of 2008.
They were some pugs on a pickup raid that we started, and they were like, man, these guys are pretty good.
That's funny. Yeah, that's actually when I started playing WoW.
Which shows how
I
low
picked
our
up
standards
at the-
are at this point.
Technically, we wanted
Come on.
Corey, but Matt was in the package.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't necessarily even need Corey. We needed his whatever macro it was he was running that interrupted the bosses before they cast their abilities.
Yeah, his 0.2 second
His
matrix
reaction time. Yeah, we needed
reaction time.
We needed his Earth Shock.
Yeah, man.
That was crazy. But yeah, so we've all been together and gaming in multiple ways for a really long time. So we decided to do this to add some an entertaining factor to it, to where we could show what we do and get some viewers and show our tabletop, show our gaming, and talk about things that we talk about, because we think that maybe some people might want to hear it too. Probably not, but we'll see.
Hey, man.
Kurt, don't you have a Kickstarter you're excited about that's coming out?
Yeah, I just backed a couple of Kickstarters recently.
You're backing them.
Yeah, man.
Not that he started one himself.
I was
no.
like, what are you talking about? What's going
Yeah,
on
guys,
with
we
your
wanted to announce it here.
What's going on
we wouldn't
with
have
your
talked about it
game of pointy chairs or whatever that
No.
was?
What was it?
House rules.
Oh, House Rule. Yeah,
We're
so
not there yet.
that's not ready.
I
That's
was like,
not.
is he announcing it?
That's not there. Yet.
Oh, yeah.
We're not ready for house rules.
No, I actually just backed. I think it closed. So if you're listening to this, you missed it. But I backed Hack the Planet, which is a
Hackers?
Matthew Lillard.
No. Okay,
Wait,
that would
what?
be awesome. But no, it's a Blades in the Dark hack that does cyberpunk and climate fiction. So you
Isn't Blades in the Dark a hack itself?
no, not really. I would say
It's not like an
Blades.
Apocalypse World Tech thing.
I mean,
a pack of Apocalypse World.
no. Well, okay.
Hack of
So
a hack
I
of a
would
hack?
say that Blades in the Dark is not a hack, because it's different enough. It definitely draws on. It's definitely inspired by Apocalypse World. And
The Powered by the Apocalypse is a lot similar to how we had a lot of those Rule 20 games. Back like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
D20 SRP.
Yeah,
The D20 games.
It
where there was
shares
300 games that were all basically D&D rules-ish. Where those,
There were house flavors.
Right.
But it was
Right.
more than more than a lot of them were more than a flavor.
So it's an official Shadowrun Blades in the Dark.
No, it is not Shadowrun. It's a Blades in the Dark cyberpunk.
Yeah, which
Why is it cyberpunk with no Shadowrun? That makes no
Yes, Mike.
sense to me.
Well, Shadowrun doesn't own cyberpunk. It's just one of the
Instead
more
lots of
popular
D6s, you roll 2.
cyberpunk settings. But yeah,
I'm
so it's
disappointed this isn't a tabletop based on the Hackers movie.
it's
know,
really a lost opportunity.
I am disappointed.
I'm a
I
little
would play
disappointed that it isn't.
I
But
would play that.
We would all play that.
I would definitely play it. Maybe we'll do one. Maybe I'll pick a system, we'll figure something out, and we'll run a hackers game. It'll just follow the storyline exactly. You guys will just read. I'll give you scripts.
Why? We already know it.
Yeah, I think we all have that movie
It's in the place
memorized.
where I put that thing.
But yeah, so that I'm excited to get my hands on a physical copy of that, and one that hasn't closed yet. So if you're seeing this before, I think the end of April, look up Cartel. That's a Powered by the Apocalypse game about the cartels in Mexico. So you play either like an enforcer or like someone who married into the cartel. It all kind of centers around that, and the art in it is super beautiful.
Has that been done before? I don't
Cartel
think I've
stuff?
ever heard of a game in that universe.
Yeah,
like you did the Mafia thing, but I don't think anyone's ever
game.
done the Cartel.
Yeah.
I feel
Right.
like we could just drive south 5 hours and join the cartel.
Well, I mean, I feel like that would be a lot more dangerous than just getting a book and
Not to
pretending
mention
at home.
gas prices today versus what, a $20 Kickstarter.
Have a
Yeah,
hybrid,
man. Yeah,
I'm fine.
it's way
We're all
easier to
going
just
in your
kickstart
car.
it. But yeah,
That does sound really cool.
that one sounds pretty cool. The guy that's
Joining
writing it
Cartel?
is from
Joining
Magpie
Cartel.
Games. Magpie Games did. There's some other Magpie. Anyways, look up Cartel Magpie Games. The guy's from New Mexico, so he has some like real world experience with being near,
Being near a cartel.
being near that stuff. And it felt very authentic. Like the stuff I was reading, and a lot of the reviews I saw were all that it's the fiction in it is very authentic.
What was that,
so.
Matt?
I was just to say, you can't question that legitimacy.
Yeah. The guy's from New Mexico,
Yeah.
so you know it's good.
He is 3 hours closer to the cartel than we are,
Yeah.
so he's got experience.
But yeah, I mean, one of the add-ons is you can get a deck of cards that has locations, so you can like make sure that your settings are authentic, like places in Mexico.
Oh.
So it's kind of neat.
I thought you meant like hit location.
You know, they have that. It's called your phone. You just
Well,
put
yeah, Google Maps and all that, but
So is
I
there
don't know.
anything else coming out?
Siri, where's the nearest cartel?
So is there anything else that's coming out that anybody's excited about?
any video games?
Any video games?
Not really soon. I think a couple of us are looking forward to Monster Hunter on PC.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unusual because it's not really our kind of game, but a few of us played it on PS4 and played it just long enough to realize that we liked it enough to stop playing it and wait for PC.
Right.
I like
Because
it
it's such a
enough
good
that
friend game.
I really want to play it multiplayer, but I don't trust strangers anymore.
Now,
Yeah.
the
Who
incident-
hurt you, Mike?
we played it
He
long
met
enough.
us. That's the problem.
I think we both played it long enough to realize we wanted to wait to play it with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And that
really
comes
that
out
kind of
in
game.
August.
And also Matt.
Yeah.
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 And also Matt.
Yeah.
Friends
So-
and Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. So, what has everybody been playing recently? RPGs, video games. What's been? I know for us, we've been playing a lot of Fortnite.
I've been a filthy
Yeah.
console peasant lately.
Yeah, he has no internet.
I have no internet.
He has no internet, so he's been forced to
What
What
go
are you
PS4.
playing on the console?
We don't hate. By the way, we don't
Old
hate
games?
consoles. We don't.
We don't
they're,
hate
They're
consoles.
just worse.
Yeah. Been playing Witcher 3, Dragon Age, Inquisition.
Oh, that one's good.
That's the good ones.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
I just
gonna
got-
play on a console, at least
I
it's
just picked up Pillars of Eternity and
good. Pillows.
Do you like
Pillars.
you like
Or
turn-based
pillows.
RPGs, right?
Yeah,
You should check out Persona 5.
I have it.
Oh,
It's in storage.
it's
Because
great.
I bought it before I moved.
Oh,
I actually got really into it.
Yeah?
I'm like halfway through it.
I was watching Go Carnage's stream, so I
Did they
I've
ever
seen
lift the
entire
streaming
game.
restriction on it?
There was a streaming restriction on
So
it?
Yeah,
when it
content
launched, they
restriction.
said there is a certain date and time. I don't remember what it is offhand. That's I guess some event happens, and so the company said you cannot stream
Oh.
after this time in
Part
game.
of the game. Okay. I don't.
And I imagine it'd be something that they back off of eventually, but they did.
oh, like the no spoilers kind of
Yeah,
thing?
it's kind of an enforced no spoilers.
Yeah.
You know, not a hard don't stream our game or else we're gonna come after you.
Just don't stream any content.
Yeah,
beyond this
don't
point in the
spoil
game.
it for your rooms and whatnot.
I don't know. I didn't see all that. But I do know on the PS4 because there's a button on the controller to share and stream and all that stuff. I accidentally hit a couple times, so I know it's there. But when you're playing some of the games, a little pop-up will come up in the corner and it says like streaming disabled. So apparently the developers can say like if you're playing on PS4, like we don't want you to stream this cutscene, so you can't.
Oh, through the actual stream in
That's
PS4
physically
thing.
won't
That's
let you.
interesting.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's
So it'll
really
just
smart,
mute, like it'll just
actually.
black out
Yeah,
and wait
it
till the
just pops
cutscene's
up
over?
there and it says streaming disabled or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's interesting is because a lot of a lot of the YouTube detection is actually looking at certain cutscene kind of things. And so if they just bake that into their games directly...
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Don't most people who stream consoles use a capture card? And that circumvents that entire problem. Because I think most people don't use... I mean, I think the PS4 streaming thing is cool. I used it to stream Monster Hunter a little bit. But I think most people who are legitimate streamers are using some kind of capture card. So it wouldn't matter. If they
Probably.
Yeah, but in the same note, most like big-end streamers never get deep into a 100-hour game because there's no point to continue playing that, whereas... That's the new hotness next week or something else.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
And at that point, it almost has to be. If you want to be a relevant streamer, you're forced into a position of it's almost like leasing a vehicle. You know, you're forced into
I don't know though.
leasing and continually moving on to the next.
If
game.
I'm thinking of a lot of the streamers that I watch, they have a very niche game. Like Path of Exile streamers, like they only really play Path of Exile. I mean, yeah, they dabble, but they always go back to Path of Exile.
And I watch a lot of Minecraft streamers like Direwolf and Soren.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Are they still around?
Oh, I love those guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they play one game, and as soon as they move on to a different game, like Direwolf and Soren, for example, they'll do their Minecraft stream for a little bit. Okay, we're going to do Overwatch. 80% of their viewers are gone like that.
Yeah.
Now the difference, one key difference about like Direwolf and the Minecraft thing is they technically do get to inject a 50% brand new game just by tossing a different mod pack in,
Right.
or playing with something different.
Yeah.
You also have to keep in mind the principle is that Direwolf and guys like Soren, who essentially changed the world of Minecraft and have actually had such a massive following that there are so many mods that are even developed around those guys. So it's like you almost depend on them going back to Minecraft.
Right.
I
think if I were them and I had that situation, I would just create a sub stream. I would have a Minecraft stream, just do Minecraft. If you want to play something else, but do it on a sub stream.
Yeah,
that way you don't affect your viewership.
Yeah.
Well, so what else has everybody been playing?
Actually, I've been playing Minecraft.
So I guess you got that server up and running, huh?
We have a server?
Yeah.
Well, how come we're not sharing?
Yeah.
How is this the first we're hearing of it?
Well,
Are you holding out on us?
What pack are we running?
No, I could not get the password to my account. I actually ended up having to buy. It took 4 days.
Wow.
For me to,
You lost all your Minecraft achievements?
Yeah,
all
right.
that gear.
Devastated. I never received a password recovery email, so I ended up just buying a new copy. So I've only been playing for a day.
Okay, but back to the important question.
yeah,
what pack are we
why
running?
have you not? Honestly, we're sure. The biggest one thing is that JP, one of our other friends who's not real interested in streaming, he's more of a introverted guy. He wasn't sure with everything that we had going on with Pixel Scandal, if it was something you guys were interested in doing. It has nothing to do with, we're trying to like hide the server from you
No,
guys,
it's fine. We know how it is.
No, we could always have a Pixel Scandal host trolling JP's Minecraft server.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen.
On this Sunday, we're going to go in and destroy all his shit.
But we need Rando for that.
Yeah, we'll give a stack of TNT to Rando.
Yeah.
And just turn around.
Honestly, next week, I will. We should honestly do a stream of rating his Minecraft server.
Yeah.
That would be
So
absolutely hilarious.
One more
Yeah, that would be
time?
pretty funny.
One more time, just for posterity. What pack are we running?
Feed the beast.
So
It's my money.
The mod pack is actually pretty interesting. I can't remember the exact name of it.
We'll be the judge
it's
of that.
Like an Empire Earth meets Minecraft. You have to go through Age 0, where you're literally bashing rocks together to create your tools.
Okay, so
That's
it's the
the-
Heavy Quest mod pack.
That's the new SevTech, right?
It's not even. I mean, yes, you could call it a quest. For all intents and purposes, it is a quest.
Well, does it use the quest mod or
HQM.
The book.
Yeah,
Like
does,
the unlock.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep,
cool.
it has the unlock. Yep.
I've always been a
Those
fan of
have,
that.
those have been fun. But what ends up happening is we join one of those, and then Gordon ends up doing 80% of them by himself.
I would say more like 90.
Yeah.
Everyone just logs on one day and is
I
like,
get-
what the fuck?
I get about a day and a half of playtime, and then I come back 2 days later, and it's like, all my quests are done.
No, I
Well,
just-
good.
We have a power generator. Okay.
Yeah.
This specific mod pack is actually specific to each individual, so each person actually goes through
Oh.
their own pages, even as a team.
That's actually, I like
Yeah,
that.
that's kind of cool.
That's kind of clever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that in
And it
another
really-
where we don't just join a party in the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's
It
true.
actually really stalls out the gameplay. It's actually kind of one of the.
I think
funner
Minecraft could
mod
use
packs I've
that.
played.
I think
Yeah.
that's kind of my issue with Minecraft is it always goes so fast. Like
Yeah.
that first 24 hours of like, all right, guys, let's find a place to set up shop. And then literally, if you know the game well enough, in good 8 to 10 hours, you're like,
Up and running.
yeah.
Yeah, well, especially with 6 people playing or
Yeah.
8 people
Right.
playing, you got enough manpower or
I think
man
it could
hours.
use that slow, like some slowdown on that.
Yeah.
I bet between being able to get in and play yesterday and the hours that I played this morning, I probably have 18 hours in, and I'm still using a stone axe, and I have no armor because I don't know what armor is.
And it's not a
So-
skyblock, right?
Your character or you? Because we can explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you need a primer on
I'm ready to
it?
go
Or?
through that for you.
The character.
They're like very thick clothes, Matt. Problem solved.
It's actually pretty fantastic. Like the whole process of just like creating hide, you kill the animal, get the hide, scrape the hide, and then you have to salt the hide, brine it for a certain amount of time, dry it. It's just pretty. It's a fantastic mod pack. I would highly recommend. Let me get you the name of it actually.
Septic.
Yeah.
That's what he gets for sitting on his computer. He can actually look shit
Yeah, he can look shit up
Well,
for
while
us.
he's doing that, let's shift to anything else. What have you been playing recently, Tyler?
Just mess up.
Come on.
A lot of EverQuest.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. The people in the back didn't hear you.
Yeah, what was
Yes,
that?
our focal point over there didn't hear you.
Lean into the
20-year-old
microphone.
game.
Lean into the microphone.
I'm really
Whisper-
curious.
whisper gingerly.
Why EverQuest? Like, what is it that draws you back time after time?
Nostalgia is a big part of it. It was my first game that I really got completely like immersed in, I guess is the best way of putting it. And I don't know. I guess that's mostly it. It's just something that's very familiar to me. It's like that warm blanket. It changes, but it's always the same. And when you return to it, all the knowledge, all the history and experiences you've had are still there.
I think that's the same way I feel about playing WoW. Like, every once in a while I sub for a month, probably only play 2 days, but sub for a month, play, like, try my ultimate goal of getting all of the achievements, which is how I win games, and then forget I was playing it.
You realize that at your rate of play versus the rate of content that adds more achievements.
I know, it's
that
hard.
goalpost is.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you already have all the quests done, and you already have all of the holidays done, you're closer to that goal. The problem is I won't do PvP, and I'm never going to get those.
Yeah, but you sitting here is allowing those goalposts to get further.
You should just
Yeah.
loan your account to Mike and have Mike do all your PvP achievements.
Oh, yeah, there you go, 'cause
yeah,
that's-
yeah. Do you have like a keyboard you need demolished or something, or?
you would literally need to buy him 5 mice, 5 keyboards,
Yeah.
and 2 monitors
Yeah.
for what damage
You know,
would
we're going to
incur.
be doing demo in the office soon.
Yeah, you're like, I
Just
have
you
this
play.
desk I don't need anymore.
Yeah.
Could you come over and play some PvP for me until
I
the desk
don't
is
know.
gone?
My history of playing PvP with Mike was great.
Yeah.
We used to do threes back in BC.
Yeah, we did 2v3s.
2v3s with a third count.
Rogue.
A rogue that was stealth. Yeah.
Auto running into a corner, and then whenever I would die, just alt tab. I'm still going.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, Gordon, what have you been playing recently?
Fortnite.
Fortnite. Bunny Penny.
Yeah, Save the World.
Bunny
I
Penny?
cannot.
Yes.
Still not
There's a
into
character.
the PvP thing.
No.
Wears a bunny costume for the holiday.
Okay.
Her name is Bunny Penny.
I gotta get that reinstalled.
It's awesome. It's not the kind of character I like to play, but I had to have her.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I need to get Fortnite.
I'm unfortunately at a point where it's literally they're out of content.
Oh, for yeah.
The first 2 zones are done. They have the full quest, full storyline progression, and whatnot. And then when you get to the 3rd zone, there are quests, but there's not actual voiceover or anything. And instead of here are interesting things to do, now it's
Here's some grindy stuff.
Go do 2 of these missions.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Gordon,
Yeah.
is Fortnite, is that the same game that is that the game where you crash in on the airplane?
So
That's PUBG, isn't it?
that's Forest.
I think he's
right.
thinking of PUBG.
PUBG.
No, he's thinking Forest.
Forest,
PUBG, you
yeah.
come in through the plane too.
Yeah,
No.
Matt, how are you not playing Fortnite?
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I think honestly, I just haven't had anybody to play it with.
Dude, we play like all the time.
Yeah, Gordon, the Kurtz, and I literally play a lot.
Yeah, you'd like Fortnite.
Nobody's.
Remember when you got your
nobody's ever.
yeah? Whenever
You
you
guys are just terrible
Yeah.
friends as well.
How does
No,
it feel?
no, 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 no,
How
no,
does
no.
it feel to be left out of something? Now you know how we feel with Minecraft.
he got his computer fixed and he said, "Hey, what stuff should I download?" And I said,
Oh.
"Well, you should download Fortnite."
Mm-hmm.
That was literally when you got your stuff fixed. That was, I think, the weekend we picked it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're like, "You would really like this game," and you would really like.
But
it.
I think you immediately dismissed it because you only understood it as the battle royale version, the PvP mode.
right.
Right,
Oh.
which is shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know that it's shit. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
PvP is
It's
stupid.
free.
My kid
PvP
plays it
does suck.
all the time. He
Yeah.
loves it on PS4.
Ours
Who?
plays it.
Jared,
It's on PS4?
yeah.
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 It's on a phone,
it's on
dude.
It's
phones.
on phones, yeah.
Yeah, you can get it on your phone.
Hey,
You
loves
know
it.
what?
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
Still can't download it.
All right, so moving from video games to RPGs, what have we been playing tabletop games wise lately?
Didn't we have I ran a game last weekend, didn't I? I ran.
Oh, What's in the
We
Box?
played What's
Yeah,
in the Box
yeah,
last
yeah.
weekend.
I've been running a Savage Worlds fantasy game for these fuckers for I don't know what 2 years.
Been at least 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
For this one game, yeah.
So
Well, technically, it's 2 games in one.
So yeah,
Kinda.
so I ran that. You guys, the whole crew is currently trying to overthrow a corrupt duke, and the next thing they need is an army. So y'all are digging your way through a big ass dungeon that I pulled out of a mod from the
The DM was lazy that week.
yeah, but then
Never-ending predator pools.
oh
of-
my god, it's the biggest fucking
If
dungeon.
you
I'm
guys
about to
stopped
just
playing with those fucking balls of water, that game would have been over so much
I left
faster.
mine 3 rooms back.
That is
Yeah,
true,
yeah,
you were
yeah.
a ball
I
with
made
it.
a point of not even mentioning it the second game.
I appreciate that.
I feel like everyone's kind of over the balls of water.
No, I decided I'm putting a pause on them, and then when we leave, I'm going to find some arbitrary way to get it out, and I'm going to fly around it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
definitely
man.
taking my ball with me. Ever since you mentioned that you can expel the stuff that's in the ball,
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, well, body parts. It's just going
Well-
to be raining body parts.
Well, I feel like we need to explain what's happening here.
Karen's
We're going to talk about it.
character also has some water breathing potions now,
Potions,
so you
yes.
could take them and then
8
just,
hours.
8 hours.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can just swim around in your ball.
So in this dungeon, I'm using the Doom Vault from Tales from the Awning Portal. It's a 5th ed mod as sort of the basis for this. And so in the place where they started the dungeon, there is three giant or 15-foot spheres of water that you can mentally control and move around, kind of like they're just to move fish from like one pond to another if you're a badass wizard. So they took control of a bunch of these, and they've been kind of just flying around in them because they can. I mean, they hover. So yeah, it's going to be interesting if you ever go unconscious in one.
There is no pre-design or predefined altitude limit,
Nope.
Nope.
so I need to get it out of these caves.
Yeah.
Okay, so has anybody played the new Mario game where you turn into a thing and then you like squirt water
Odyssey?
out of your butt so you fly?
Yeah.
That's kind of
Oh, like the squids or
the
whatever.
squids. Like you
Oh,
get into a
yeah,
squid,
yeah, yeah.
you throw your hat on it,
Yep.
and then
Odyssey.
you can fly around.
Yeah.
The balls kind of remind me of that.
So yeah, so there's this dungeon is friggin' huge, and there's like 10 different sections of it, and we've had 2 or 3 games? 2 games of one
We're
section.
a game and a half.
Game and a half of one section of it. And
Predator
yeah,
pool.
so it's going to be interesting. I'm probably going to cut it short so that we don't have more than 3 or 4 games inside this goddamn dungeon.
Well, it'd be nice just to move out of the predator pools and into the caves of lightly guarded treasure that I'm
I would
really
Right.
like to find those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to play, I mean, if you're going to say, oh, there's caves of lightly guarded treasure, I don't know why you didn't just say caves of unguarded treasure. That would be way easier to get the treasure.
Because you don't get XP for treasure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you need to kill
You
stuff.
did in second
Oh,
edition.
by the
Just
way,
saying.
For treasure?
something that
Yeah.
Kurt and I realized after last weekend, he did not give out XP at the end of the game.
Yeah, nobody noticed.
I'll be honest, it's Savage Worlds.
Yeah,
After like
we're-
70, you stop
I'm
really
at
getting
like,
anything.
I'm at like 130 XP at this point. What am I going to do with
I'm
it?
at 147, and I need 3 more so that I can get another level.
I have
so it's
5
important.
unspent levels.
I have 1. But that's because
Yeah.
I keep hoarding them.
Yeah.
I actually was proud of myself. I leveled up.
I know, yeah. You're totally leveled up, man.
Yeah, you're proud of yourself. You didn't think to bring it back today, which means inherently you'll forget it next time.
No, it's still here, actually. I didn't need to bring it in home.
Which
Oh, really?
we did not schedule our next game, so when we're not on stream, we'll need to worry about
Yeah. So, so I've been doing that. What's
Real
up?
quick, while you guys are kind of less explaining and talking about the seriousness of what you've been playing and are now just bullshitting about what you've been playing, I'm going to throw in the
Mod
name
pack?
of the mod pack here real quick for that Minecraft.
Yeah, sure, man.
That Minecraft mod pack is called SevTech Ages.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Go on.
What?
Mike has been sitting here saying the name of it for the last few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Didn't even hear him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the one through Twitch where the cursed Twitch merge.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
well, I think now that
It's all Feed the Beast.
Yeah, Feed the Beast is now cooked
Yeah.
into there. All the old cursed ones are cooked into there. The only ones
Yeah.
that aren't, it would be the old T one. T.
Oh, there's the
Technic?
Technic
Yeah.
launcher.
Technically wouldn't be cooked in, but who's to know that those mod creators didn't jump over anyway.
Is ATL launcher still a thing?
No, not that I know of.
I don't think so, man.
Yeah, it was.
Or
I want to say
Okay.
ATL got cooked into Curse,
I think everyone uses the
Okay.
curse now.
but I'm
The
not
first
100%.
Yeah.
okay. Well, anyways, there's I don't know why I did not hear Mike mention that.
Because I wasn't talking to you.
I was talking to the audience.
Yeah, I was talking to those guys right there.
All right.
Or
Well,
those guys over there.
now that we've kind of like switched gears here, let's switch to our spotlight topic.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were just talking about Dungeon World.
Well,
No, we weren't. We
I
were
wanted
talking
to
about
give all
Savage
you guys
Worlds.
spoilers about Exalted. Not really.
Do you want to talk about Exalted?
No,
we talk about
not at
Exalted.
all.
Yeah? All right.
So with us playing Dungeon World on the stream in a couple of weeks, we figured it would be good to start with talking about what Dungeon World is and how to play it.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so let's see if I can get the actual title of Dungeon World correct. It is world-famous, award-winning role-playing game Dungeon World by Adam Coble and Sage LaTorra.
Let me interrupt. Is World Famous actually part of the title?
That's what Adam Coble calls it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just had to-
So if you're going to listen to a damn Coble...
You're
Sounds
full
like
of shit,
something-
Adam.
Sounds like something a kobold would say.
Yeah. If you're gonna listen to a damn kobold, then that's what he calls it. No, so Dungeon World is a Powered by the Apocalypse game, which harkens back to old school D&D. It is very much a questing and dungeon delving game.
Two-hit armor class 0, right?
No, none of that bullshit. So
well,
what it does
that is what it means to be playing old school D&D.
well, okay,
if
sorry.
you're not doing heavy math,
I'm out.
So it-
yeah.
So Dungeon
Calculator
World
watch.
takes the idea of old school Dungeons and Dragons and slaps it on top of the Apocalypse World style of gameplay, which is low math, high narrative agency. It's a fiction first game, which means that the fiction is going to lead the mechanics. So if whatever you're doing makes sense in the fiction, then you engage the mechanics. For instance, there are, if you're not familiar, Apocalypse World has things called moves, which every character can do. Rather than just having skills or actions, the moves are triggered by a narrative fictional positioning. So if you want to attack something, for instance, with a sword, if you are in a position to damage that thing with your sword, then you would roll hack and slash, right? You would roll 2d6, add your strength or dex, whatever it is, and you would attack the thing, and then if you hit, deal some damage.
Now, question for you. Because I was looking through the guide, didn't see anything on it, the character gen thing.
Mm-hmm.
You hit, great. How do you do damage? Is it?
So damage is based on class. So each like a fighter is just as dangerous with a knife as he is with a greatsword because he's a fighter. He knows how to use his tools.
What about a chair?
Yes. The class does damage.
weapon?
You want to punch?
You're gonna be
You
a
can
fighter
punch.
who
It doesn't
fights with
matter.
chairs. Are you going to be Squish
Yeah.
and be a
Fighter luchador.
A fighter
Yeah.
luchador?
So
What about a very small child?
In the cartel, he's
yes,
gonna do that in the
if
cartel game.
this-
Oh
if
yeah,
the very
the
small
cartel game.
child
There you go.
was wielded by a fighter,
Wait a
it would
second.
deal the same damage as a
Okay,
sword.
now if a very small child was wielded by a fighter with 2 hands, could you apply the messy trait to it?
Can you
well,
dual wield children? Let's examine that first.
So really, well, can you dual wield children? So
Or
the fighter.
or alternatively, can you dual wield fighters dual wielding children?
Oh.
I don't know about that one. That would be a little difficult. That sounds like an advanced move. Like you'd have to be a little higher level.
You take that as a level up.
Yeah, you'd have to take that later.
I
So
feel like that should be a monstrous feat. Like if you had multiple limbs, like if you were a Thri-Kreen.
right, you could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd allow it.
Yeah. So the
As long as those kids that you're fighting with aren't also holding teddy bears, I'm good with it.
right. Well, that's how you add the
Then
like.
you could add bomb damage.
That's how you add area damage to your children
That's your
weapons.
explosive burst weapon.
So in Dungeon World, you embody a character. You describe what you are doing, what your actions are, and then whenever the mechanics are triggered, say by attacking something that you could damage, you would roll 2d6, add whatever your stat that is associated with that, and then on a 10 plus, you do it. Whatever you were doing, it happens. You deal your damage. You in Dungeon World on Hack and Slash, you can actually deal a little extra damage. Whatever action you're trying to do on a 10 plus, you succeed. No questions asked. On a 7 to 9, you get a partial success or a success at a cost. So you hit them, but they deal damage back to you. You duck out of the way, but you lose an item. You
Shoot your arrow, but it also hits an ally.
sure, yeah, but your ally is forced to fall prone to get out of the way. Now, if you get a 6 or less, then that's a failure. It doesn't mean that your action doesn't succeed. It means that something bad happens. It means that in game terms, it means that the GM gets to make a hard move. So I can do things like, well, I just deal damage to you, or I give you a hard choice. Like, sure, you can jump over the crevice, but you're going to definitely lose something important. Or maybe you're hanging on the edge, and the goblins that were chasing you are notching their arrows, right, and you're defenseless. So I get to put you in a spot or deal some damage to you or take away your stuff or split you up. I get to do something bad to you guys.
You make it over the crevice, but you forget that you have a child.
Right, and now that kid's on the other side, and there's no way back. And the goblins are eating.
And then the fighter uses him as
Jumped
an
over the
improvised
crevice,
weapon.
but
Yeah.
Call it
The goblin fighters are now using your children as weapons against
Now,
you.
is this similar to the Blades version of the Yes But?
It's similar to that. So Blades. So in Dungeon World and in Apocalypse World in general, the moves tend to say kind of what things happen on the 7 and 9 result or on the 6 result. In Dungeon World, they're not moves, they're actions. So you still have the GM gets to do something to you when you fail, or the GM gets to offer you like a hard choice when you fail, or when you get a partial success. But they're not specified, right? It more heavily depends on your positioning, your like how risky the attempt was. Whereas Dungeon World, there's not really a level of, well, how risky is this thing, or you don't have that. You don't have as many dials, but it's also not as intensive, I feel, on the GM at the moment. But it is still a discussion. So something that I really love about Apocalypse World is, and obviously you could do this with any game, but it assumes that the players are going to share some of the narrative weight. They're gonna contribute to the world, to the narrative in a way that you're not necessarily expected to in D&D, not by the rules, anyways. Right?
So basically, you're being lazy and making me do half your job.
Yes.
Yeah, man. If I was in your position, I would want to be able to do some of that work.
So Matt, as our RPG virgin, what are your questions about this?
Yeah, man. What do you want to know?
From what I've gathered so far, it seems like a much more organic player driven game, as opposed to every video that I've watched of people playing like the D&D more DM'd game.
You're giving
right?
us a guideline.
Well, it's okay. So it's definitely a philosophical difference, right? There's nothing. I mean, the mechanics are very different, but the way you GM an Apocalypse World game and Dungeon World follows from this is it's all philosophical changes, right? You want the players to contribute to the narrative in a way that that isn't expected in D&D. You want, like for instance, when you are building the world, if say we're building out the world and Mike over here is playing a
Bard. Dibs.
No.
Mike over here, it's going to be all bards.
Why
I swear
is
to God.
everyone
said
fighting
they
over
want to be
bard?
bard.
Like, what is going on?
So another thing that Dungeon World has is niche protection or niche protection. So you're not supposed to play the same class as anyone else, and everyone wants to play bard. So I'm imposing an all or nothing rule. Either one person gets to play bard, or you're all fucking bards, and where it's going to be a very different game. But other than that, those are my two options.
So one thing, and you're talking about it being more player driven. I think it has to do a lot with how the DM or the GM prepares the game. In Dungeon World or many of the Powered by the Apocalypse, you kind of go in not necessarily blind, but very loose with how you're planning on.
You have a general guideline.
Yeah.
And you let the players flesh that out for you.
You ran Blades in the Dark
Yeah.
for us, so you kind of have an understanding of the GM.
Whereas
side of it.
with like a D&D or your more traditional, like your older, less narrative style games, it's more expected that the person running the game has prepared the dungeon for the night or the encounters or whatnot. It's actually the rarity, and maybe this is the tables I've played in over the years, but it is actually a rarity that the players are encouraged or even participate in that process.
Yeah.
Where, like for example, a Shadowrun game we were running, I had a plan for a game, and all of a sudden it got hijacked into a battle of the bands because that's what.
Dude, fucking that game rocked. Like,
and the irony
That game was
being
so much fun.
that it actually worked out really, really well. So there's nothing inherent to any game system that prevents this narrative control. It's just.
I think it's more encouraged
Yeah.
with Powered by the Apocalypse type games.
Or like
more so than in
Or like our
others.
Traveler game that turned into
spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets
in space.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I
some
decided
pirates
to
over
run
there.
Traveler, and I had an entire campaign planned for you guys.
Yeah.
And you turned it into spreadsheets, the RPG, and I just was like, no.
I don't know, man. We had a logo on our spreadsheet and everything. Like,
I
we
do,
were
yeah.
really
Yeah.
into
I
it.
think we need to get Karen to run that game.
Yeah,
was
Karen would definitely.
It was
run
like a
for you.
tabletop version of Settlers of Catan in space.
Yeah, or Eve. It was Eve Online, the board,
Yeah.
the tabletop
As
game.
someone
Can I
who
play?
doesn't,
Right, yeah, right. Well, you joined, but yeah.
as someone who doesn't GM literally ever, I have to imagine, and I read something on Facebook on some post like last week that says the amount of time you spend on building a room in a campaign is completely disproportionate to, or the way you word it says the more time you spend in crafting a room is the less likely your asshole people are gonna fucking open that door.
Well, I think the best thing I've seen is when they're talking about like you spend 4 hours creating this ultimate bad guy with a backstory, with motivations and all these things, and then you put him in the game, and your player, I'm looking at you, Gordon, murders it in the first 5
Yeah, they have like
seconds
a
it's in the room.
quick volley and they one shot them.
Right.
Wait,
and
what
so
did I do?
I think I'm talking about
know what
early
you
days
did.
of What's in the Box when you murdered everything.
Oh, Gerard.
Gerard.
No.
Oh, now it's. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was taking your niche, murdering everything.
So
I feel that role now that your character is dead, but you know.
What's that, Matt?
I was just going to say, forgive me for coming back to the my initial thoughts of so far what Kurt has been explaining is to me it seems like D&D is such a structured thing where everything is driven by the DM, right? It's a reactionary.
So it's definitely a cultural expectation going into the game that the DM is going to have everything under control. I've heard the phrase "the DM is God" like way too many times. Like fuck that.
Right.
I don't got time for that shit.
But I also I don't want you to think that I'm including that's all inclusive into the game. The point that I want to I guess understand is opposed to being that ignorant understanding that I have of it being a reaction, like the players are reacting to a DM's
to a mod, to a pre-structured environment.
Right.
It's predefined.
Whereas we're creating narrative. We're progressing the narrative.
Yeah, well, mechanically, so Apocalypse World, the DM or the GM or the storyteller or whatever you want to call it, the person running the game does not roll dice. You cannot roll dice. And the only time you're even allowed to do anything, it's very specific. In other games, the GM gets to do whatever they want whenever they want. The players are bound by rules of initiative and things like that. In Apocalypse World games, the GM is bound by specific rules. I can't do anything unless something happens to trigger that. So, for instance, in Dungeon World, I'm not allowed to do anything unless you, fail a roll, or look to me to see what happens next. There's a few other times when I can make moves, but as an example, if you say, "Oh, I call him a bitch," and then you stare at me, well, I get to do a move now because you've looked at me to see what happens next.
Wait, are you telling me that we can take this shit completely off the rails?
Just don't look at it.
And just by everyone...
Just never look at Kurt, guys.
Yeah. If you guys don't do anything, then nothing happens.
I guess at that point, why don't we just pull Fiasco off the shelf?
That is
Sure.
true.
Well, the other
Six-player
time...
paladin pacifist.
Right. The other time I get to do stuff is when you guys either fail a roll or have a partial
So
success.
we just never do anything that needs rolls.
Sure. And
Drinking, I don't think there's rules for...
and to that point, it is more reactionary on the GM side because you can't do anything until the players trigger that action or look to you to say something.
Right, and that was my ideology about being a new player and having no understanding, but only ever having seen it played. That it at a very base level, it seemed as though players were always the reactionary, based upon a DM or GM's decisions, or that god or whatever that you hate being referred to as. Whereas what you're talking about is this other world where it is the DM who is forced to be the reactionary, and it's a much more organic, flowing environment.
So can I interrupt and just say a pet peeve of mine? So DM is Dungeon Master, refers to only when you're playing D&D. And GM is Game Master, which refers to all gaming in general. So since we're playing
but that's
Dungeon
not necessarily
World,
true
God,
because
fucking
if we're gonna get pedantic,
Aren't they called storytellers in White Wolf?
White Wolf
They are
uses
called
storyteller.
I prefer
Most of
GM.
Apocalypse World uses
GM.
MC.
Of
For
course they do.
Master of
Of course.
Ceremonies.
Which is why we should all play bards.
See?
Yeah, for
Yes,
Master of
we're all playing
Ceremonies.
bards,
But
guys.
you grew up in Savage
But
pretty
because
heavily.
we're going to be
I
playing Dungeon World, they
only
use
run-
DM.
Not only run, but I predominantly run Savage Worlds, and so I would want to be called a GM, not a DM.
Because you don't really do dungeons in Savage World, really.
You
Not
can.
often.
Well, my Savage Worlds game,
Yeah.
you're in a
I've
dungeon
done
right now.
dungeons. But no,
It's much more story-driven.
kind of going back to what you were saying, Matt, though, I think the difference between other role-playing games and this type of role-playing game that we're doing with Dungeon World is that you can have a GM who wants it to be player-driven and sandboxy and where you only react to what the players are doing in any system. That can be a GM style, where in Dungeon World, it's part of the rule system that it's being ran that way. It's not just a flavor of the GM. It's actual, or the MC, or whatever the fuck you want to be
Well,
called.
we're playing Dungeon World, so it's DM.
But there is a cost to that, to the player, because a lot more falls on your shoulders. If you aren't getting invested, if you aren't getting involved, you're going to get a lot less out of it.
It's like the aspect of Dresden, where you had that ability to affect the space, but this is like taking that up to 11, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, sort of, because you can still all look at me, and then if you don't know what to do next, I just do stuff to you.
I don't think that's...
I don't consent.
I don't see that happening very often, though.
I mean, with this group, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But, like, if for instance, if you were a group of players and you didn't know what to do next, say you're all new people and you don't know what happens.
Attack the darkness every time.
Yeah, well...
Always attack the darkness.
And something to keep in mind is that every roll, every action should move the story forward or move the narrative forward in some way. So if you fail, it's not that your picks, you failed to pick a lock. It's not that your picks broke, and now you're just, I guess, what do you guys, you're just standing there. Okay, nothing happens.
You take the child and you ram the child into the door.
Sure. Well, okay, you could try something else, but it means that sure you picked the lock, but not fast enough, and now the guards are here, or something always happens, and the moves always end. The GM moves always end with what do you do? They're always meant to pose a situation that requires your immediate action. So the game can feel a little bit faster paced too.
Heaven forbid.
Well, and that's something that we'll like sort of suss out over time, like how fast we want the pace to be.
We only play 4th edition once a month.
So it doesn't feel like molasses all the time?
We only play once a month, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But kind of going to what Matt was saying about the way this is, from what you've been watching, I think even from a GM standpoint, it can be a little disconcerting to change from the GM-driven to the player-driven style. Because sometimes when you're playing a game that is GM-driven and a player makes a decision about something, you have to yes and that, and sometimes it goes against maybe the story that you've written or the things that you've written for your game, but because you want to encourage player driven things, you have to yes and that and keep going with it, and maybe sometimes change what you had planned, but in this case, you don't have to worry about that. You yes and everything unless the players
Isn't
stare
that kind
at
of
you
what's liberating though? Liberating both for the GM and liberating for the player too,
right.
Because your experience is the responsibility of the player,
right?
In a way, so like
you put
the
quality on the player.
The quality of the campaign is a lot dependent on the creativity of the player.
Yeah. Well, what falls to the DM in that instance is you're more of you're a creative director, right? You're driving the tone and making sure that like, okay, well, and this is something we'll talk about in our session 0, right? Like, do we want a silly game? Do we want a serious game? What sort of touchstones do we want to hit?
If it's 6 bards,
if it's 6 bards, it's
obviously going to be an epic poem.
The whole thing is every game is just finding the next word of the poem.
We each take a poem style, and that's the only way we can say things.
Your character can only
Mike
talk
will be
in
nothing but haikus.
Oh, it's going to be great.
So Gordon will be Iambic Pentameter. Tyler has to rhyme.
Hard pause.
X card. I need an X card.
I'm going to slam poetry.
Just X. I don't want. No snaps.
Sexually explicit limericks.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'm gonna write a custom move. When a player speaks in iambic pentameter, you must snap.
There you go.
Yeah, snap in response.
Now,
Go on.
So one thing to keep in mind, though, it's definitely behind the curtain kind of thing, but anyone who's run a game, especially games for a long period of time, realizes the old adage of no plan survives encounter with the enemy.
Nope.
Yeah.
You could plan for 20 hours a week and craft elaborate scenarios.
I mean, all three of us run games pretty consistently. I haven't in a while, but I mean, we have run consistent games, and the consistent theme has been like, fuck you guys, you ruined my plans. Yeah. But it was still probably more fun than what you had
This
planned.
group goes off the rails more than not.
Yeah.
Many years ago. Oh.
I'm sorry, Gordon. Can you explain that again to me?
So the idea being of you might have this elaborately crafted dungeon, Or actually, I'll give you an anecdote. So many years ago, I brought some new players in to play a game with some friends, and we started playing, and they entered this town, and they found a message board on it, and it had a bunch of stuff on it, like missing cows or some such nonsense, whatever you would find in a small town. And the actual plot of this adventure was them to go find out about some dark elves doing something evil or something. I don't know.
Always blame the Dark Elves.
Always blame the Dark Elves.
That's racist.
It's usually true.
Yeah.
That's an Iron Druid quote.
So, and they were supposed to go into these caves and go do some stuff. I don't remember the full deal. But they had a background in like muds and whatnot, where it's about doing the stupid little thing 100 times, getting your level up, then you get to go do the real quest. So they latched on to we got to go find these missing cows. It's like, wait, what missing cows are you talking about? I don't.
Right.
It was just a throwaway sentence.
It's just box text.
Yeah, that I completely forgot. Didn't even. And they're like, you told us on the message board there was some missing cows. We're gonna. What?
And you got to roll with that.
Yeah, and then you just
can't just say no. That's not. You have this. You got to be like, oh, okay.
I have an anecdote as well for this. The very first campaign I ran, Kurt and another player who isn't with us anymore, were insisting that they were in a museum and they were insisting that something in this museum had to be a magical artifact. And this was supposed to be a pulp game, and the rest of the team is off fighting Nazis, and these two are just going around to every item in a museum going, something in here has to be plot relevant. And I could have either gone, no, leave the museum, or, yeah, that bowl, totally. If you took it outside and drank from it, something would happen.
And we got psychic powers.
I did it with psychic powers, but that was not written into my game at all. That was all player driven, their insistency that something in there had to be plot relevant, and how disappointing it would have been for them to spend the 4-hour session with me keep going back to them going, yeah, you checked another piece. No, there's nothing in there. And then going back to the rest of the group. But instead, I was like, you guys kind of think this bowl might be... Because it would be so disappointing for those players to feel like their insistency
that's some
brought
of
them nothing.
That's some of the best stuff.
How disappointed it would have been for those two players to go out and join the rest of the party in this life-threatening combat. That was happening just outside. No, we're going to hang out in here and look at bowls.
Mike may have
powers.
been
And you rewarded that behavior.
She did reward that behavior.
And that's the point, though. I mean, you can either yes and the insistency of character. I just recently ran a game where everyone insisted somebody was the murderer, and it was not the person they were insisting it was, but they were not going to leave that alone.
It was Rory.
And it was either go with it
Sorry,
and change...
Rory's the werewolf, all right?
Right? It was either go with it and change the plot of the game and say, okay, that person is, and this is what the final encounter is going to look like, and I'm going to make it up right now, just put things out there, or I'm going to go, no, you're completely wrong, and this game's going to go a whole extra hour until you get back on plot. I mean, that's kind of what you go with your players.
And so the idea being ultimately is, yes, there's going to be certain people who run a game that way, or certain styles of play that lend themselves to that. But anyone who's been doing this long enough, the players do have an agency.
Right.
Yeah.
As soon as I said, the difference is this is actually written into the mechanics of the game.
Right.
I think one shots are like the exception.
God. Those are...
Like if you're doing like a con game or like a one shot, you kind of gotta be like.
I think everybody kind of at the table accepts the fact that if we're gonna have a meaningful, or if we're gonna have an enjoyable experience in 4 hours, we're gonna have to give you some leeway and just get on the trolley so that something can happen.
Well, it's no different than, because we're talking the difference of a campaign versus a those are 4 hours movies, or it's a book.
Sure,
you are more a.
It's an experience. It's an experience. Meant for it's just that experience.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not to say that Dungeon World does not, or Apocalypse World does not include prep. There's quite a few mechanics for how to build out dangers and fronts and build out campaigns, but it kind of goes in inverse. So you start out with almost no prep, and you wait and see what the players and the characters are interested in and what sort of things they latch onto, and then you just flesh those out and make them the plot. Rather than doing it the other way. And I've I don't know, for maybe the past 2 years, I've sort of been a little reactionary. I'll throw some things out And I think a lot of people do this now. That
With
if you've
this
been,
group,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
pull your hair
I mean, the
out.
last Blades in the Dark game we ran, you had like an actual something planned as
Yeah.
a mission that we were going to do, and we came up with something crazy. We wanted to like go steal a van or something.
No,
and
you wanted to steal the vans of a competing
Of a
delivery
competing
service.
delivery
Yeah.
And the GM was like, okay, we're doing that then.
Yeah, and you literally went like this. Okay.
Yeah, he just puts the mod down. It's like, all right,
Right?
Yep.
we're doing that now.
You had written something and went, yeah, your guys' idea is way more fun than
Yeah.
whatever I did, so let's do that.
And
And that's what's, I think, so great about the Apocalypse World system is that if you're a fast on your feet GM where you can kind of go with it, then you can just say, well, I had a plan, but let's go with your thing.
Well, and ultimately it comes down to at the end of the day, it's whatever the players find fun, because
Right.
otherwise you're going to stop having players.
Right.
You're not a
Yeah.
train conductor in this regard. You're like an amusement park guide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, at the same time, something else that I like about Apocalypse World is the GM is a player. Like, you're there to have fun too.
Sure.
And so if you enjoy being surprised or learning new things, like, you're getting that from the players. So when they introduce new information or they introduce a part of their backstory that adds to the campaign, like, that's the part that's fun for the GM. Like,
think
you're
consider
a player too.
Right. Well, I think that we have done a great job of talking Dungeon World to death. So,
Yeah.
Matt, you want to hit us with an outro?
Well, first, before I do, I would just like to ask Kurt, is it okay if, considering it only be appropriate that you be called an MC? Now, coming from
Sure.
a music lover's background, I must come up with a legitimate MC DJ name for you. Now.
Yeah, man, no.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're like DJ Darklighter or something.
Well,
right?
no, the best MC name is already gone, right? DJ Jazzy Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Or no, he's not the MC though, right? How does
No, it's
you
not
have a
MC,
DJ and an MC?
Hammer,
So,
MC,
well, Will Smith would have been the MC in that equation, right? DJ
Right.
Jazzy Jeff
Yeah.
and Will Smith was the MC.
MC Fresh
MC,
Prince.
yes.
Yeah,
Fresh
Willie,
Prince.
Big Willie.
I mean, alternatively, we could just not do that.
Yeah, please. I would just avoid it at all
Or not.
costs.
So, okay, 5-1, that's fine.
Hey, we're nothing if not democratic.
Yes, the California team puts no on that.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Outro? I didn't even think of an outro, honestly. I really appreciate anyone that
Well,
decided to watch and hang out.
I think we all want to thank anybody who plans on listening to this or watching this.
yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Why don't you?
Thanks for-
When is the Dungeon War game? The first one.
The Dungeon World game is going to be April 28th, 9 a.m.
Pacific
And-
Standard Time.
Pacific Standard
Are
Time.
we playing something tomorrow night?
California Communist Time.
I believe we are. We need to figure out what.
Okay, cool. So tomorrow
California
in
Communist
the late afternoon.
Yeah.
Check
Do we have any?
pixelscandal.com.
Do we have any social media accounts? Do we have a Twitter or anything
We
like that?
have all the accounts.
So I mean,
We do.
if you're so inclined, go find Twitch or Twitter /
Yeah, we're
Pixel
Pixel
Scandal?
Scandal on YouTube. We're Pixel Scandal on Facebook and Instagram and
if-
also Twitter.
And if one of us is smart enough, maybe they'll put those links in, attached
in the
to page.
doobly-doo
In the
down
doobly-doo.
below the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Down below
there's
the
nothing.
thingy.
There's not really much on there right now.
No.
Yeah,
Because
There will be.
like
the
we
first
said,
one.
Eventually.
episode 0, guys. Thanks for beta testing this podcast.
All right.
You can leave your feedback in the comments.
I'm Gidget.
Yes, please
Thanks
do.
for coming.
She's already kicking us out. Ow!
I'm Kurt.
We have to go in the order that Matt introduced us.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Kurt.
Why don't you
Gordon.
why don't you outro us,
Gordon is next.
I'm Gordon.
Tyler.
Kurt?
You fucked it up.
Did I fuck it up?
Yeah. Mike.
And that's Matt.
That's
And Matt on the drums. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you next time.